My name is Kimberly Pellicore, and Reverend Burt has asked me here to share with you how God is making beauty from the ashes in my life. 6 years ago, my world turned upside down amidst the COVID-19 pandemic when my mom seemed to forget her life almost overnight. It was as though she woke up one morning and simply no longer had any recollection of her family. She did not know my name, nor that I was her daughter. She did not recognize her husband of almost 50 years. Because of the pandemic, it was nearly impossible to get her into a doctor to figure out what was happening. After countless tests, MRIs, and doctor visits, and over the course of 5 very long months, she finally received a diagnosis of Lewy Body Dementia. For those of you unfamiliar with Lewy Body Dementia, it's a unique form of dementia in that it manifests in a person via hallucinations and conspiracy theories. Take a minute and try to imagine waking up to find you know no one around you. Your brain is showing you people sitting next to you who aren't really there, and you believe someone is trying to trick you into thinking the house you are in is your home. All three rolled into one became a daily occurrence for my mom. What I just described was honestly only the beginning. Life for my mom and the rest of our family became a revolving door of panic attacks, emergencies, and unmitigated chaos. And it was literally this way around the clock, 7 days a week. This was our reality for years, and suffice it to say, it has taken a toll. Today, my mom resides in memory care. She cannot see because vision issues are common with Lewy Body Dementia. She cannot engage in conversation, get out of bed, or care for herself. She recognizes no one, and it is truly heart-wrenching to watch her endure it. Please know that I'm glossing over much of what she has and continues to endure, simply because it's too hard to hear, and I'm not sure I could get through telling it. The takeaway for today's purposes is that the darkness this disease brought crept in from every angle until it threatened to suffocate the light. Day by day for years, it felt like there was no reprieve. In fact, things got even worse when my dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer. It took everything we had to put one foot in front of the other and keep our eye on that speck of light that seemed so far away. Eventually, the weight of what I was carrying became too much. I started writing and documenting the things I wish someone had told me at the beginning of my caregiving journey, things that would have made life maybe just a little bit easier. My written thoughts became a love letter of sorts to other caregivers walking the same path, and it became a way to bring purpose from my mom's pain. These words, which I wrote over the course of several years because each memory was so heavy with emotion, eventually took the shape of a caregiver's guide for those who love someone with Lewy Body Dementia. I was 3/4 of the way through and just couldn't finish because of what it would cost me emotionally. But fortunately, God put a good friend in my path who encouraged me to finish it so my mom's story could help others. Next, God put comedian and actor Robin Williams on my heart. Robin passed away in August of 2014 and was posthumously diagnosed with severe Lewy Body Dementia. His widow, Susan Schneider Williams, is a professional artist and has tirelessly advocated for Lewy body research and education in the years since his passing. I had seen an interview Robin did where he said, and I quote, "There's a sadness, and then there's also hope. Sadness is always like, yeah, you wish it hadn't happened, but it did. And the purpose is to make you different," end quote. He called it the ultimate Christian gift of a very loving God. His words stuck with me. So I followed God's lead. I sent an email with an excerpt of my book to Susan Schneider Williams' lovely publicist, Tiffany. In it, I requested Susan write the foreword. I prayed, and I pressed send. To my surprise, I heard back from Susan's publicist within a week. She relayed some beautiful comments from Susan and requested the manuscript in its entirety. 2 weeks later, Susan Schneider Williams called me directly. She had finished reading the book and loved it. She said she cried and laughed because she knew the journey all too well. She authentically understood every word I wrote because she has lived it too. We bonded over experiences with Robin and my mom and talked for almost an hour. Susan said she was truly honored to write the foreword. Like me, she wanted to put it in the hands of caregivers quickly. I wish you could have seen my face. I was in shock, but believe it or not, there's more. In the book, I earmarked a chapter to be written by a scientist who could explain the science behind the disease. Susan offered to help me with this by connecting me with Dr. Bruce Miller, who is the director of UCSF Memory and Aging Center and is interviewed about Lewy body dementia in the film Robin's Wish. Dr. Miller readily and graciously agreed to write the science chapter for my book, and even went so far as to introduce me to his publisher, who I reached out to just a few days ago. God even provided me with an artist for my book's cover art, Selah Sweet, who is the daughter of Pastor Stacy and Jim Sweet. Selah is an accomplished artist and has been lifelong friends with my daughter. She's practically family. At my request, she painted a beautiful and abstract representation of memory disease in the brain. But God wasn't done yet. The very last chapter of my book is about walking through loss and grief, even when your loved one is still with you. I talk about my love for Jesus and how God has supported me every step of this journey, how he is the only reason I'm still standing before you today. It was a calculated risk because some publishers might not view my admission of faith favorably, but I took it anyway, and God provided again. I received Susan Schneider-Williams' foreword in January and was brought to tears by her kind words in support of my faith. In the last paragraph of the foreword, she speaks directly to her personal faith as well as my own. She put such an emphasis on it that it will now be extremely difficult for a publisher to omit my chapter on faith, because the foreword won't make sense without it. Just to recap, God gave me the strength to write the words during an extremely difficult time. He made sure I heard Robin Williams' words. He nudged me to reach out to Susan, who then wrote my foreword, a science chapter written by an internationally renowned doctor, art from a family friend, and a connection that might turn out to be my publisher. This, friends, is nothing I could ever orchestrate or even dream on my own. This is completely and utterly all God. But I do need you to hear me clearly that my circumstances have not changed. My mom continues to decline from this disease, and she will not get better. It is heartbreaking to watch and be unable to help. I go see her frequently, and on occasion, I cry the whole visit through. It would seem that the ashes mentioned in Isaiah 61:3 abound. There's nothing beautiful about Lewy body dementia. There have been days when I could barely see the light for the darkness, and redemption in my mom's circumstances felt more like a fairy tale. We are walking through a season of sorrow, and yet, at this very moment, I can literally trace the hand of God working to absolutely bring beauty out of the ashes of Lewy body dementia. Redemption is not the absence or end of sorrow. Redemption is a trusted companion of sorrow. I see that now as he is using the pages of this book, filled with my mom's story, to help others, and he is graciously allowing me to see firsthand that all my mom has and continues to walk through has purpose in his kingdom. Only a mighty God can bring beauty from these ashes, and to that I say, to God be the glory. Thank you.